I am Reverend Lezli, one of your ministers here at New Vision Center, and it is my turn to welcome you to New Vision Center. I see faces I haven't seen for a little while that have been on trips and living in other states. I see friends that are brand new to me today, and I see beloveds who are here every single week, and I see you in your house under a snuggly blanket. And I'm going to acknowledge it was a little bit tough to get out from under my snuggly blanket this morning. It's crisp out there for Arizona. It is November, friends, and that means we have stepped fully into this feeling tone of gratitude. We've spent our whole year planting seeds. We've followed this annual theme of planting the seed of love. And we've talked all year long about how the creative process parallels this idea of planting seeds. And then just like we nurture a plant with water and nutrients, we nurture our ideas with love and attention and prayer and meditation and consciousness and open-mindedness and the willingness to make more space in our garden to create a hospitable environment for that which we wish to bring forth. And we had our harvest month last month, and so in our consciousness map, we have a giant table, imagine with me, a giant table filled up with all of the things that we have manifested. We have pumpkins of job growth, and we have gourds of relationship, and we have those 16 pumpkin pies. I don't know who thinks we don't want 16 pumpkin pies. I want 16 pumpkin pies. We have 16 pumpkin pies of fantastic new ideas that we've created together, and they're piled up on our giant table of good. And you know what doesn't help us? Leaving it on the table. Oh, we have a two-part message this week and next. This week is gathering the glorious bounty, and next week is celebrating the glorious bounty. Because just because we manage to create that which we wish in our life, if we haven't accepted it, if we haven't picked it up off the table, it can't do us any good. Because you see, there's this thing that humans can do. And if you are immune to this, feel free to just ignore everything I say for the next 38 minutes. Just in case Reverend Karen's watching and going, 38 minutes? Who told her she can talk for 38 minutes? Over the next few minutes, we're going to talk about this thing that happens when we have worked and worked and worked and created all this space to manifest whatever it is we want in our life, and it's right there. It's right there. And we go, oh, should I want that? Is it okay for me to have that? It's like a kind of metaphysical buyer's remorse. We're right here, and we go, am I doing the right thing? Oh. And there's a reason it happens. There's a reason it happens. We are, as religious scientists, as people who attend New Vision Center, as metaphysicians in general, are walking out two worldviews at the same time. Because we live in the United States of America primarily, not everybody online does, but because we live largely in Western culture, where the majority are dualistic thinkers and materialistic thinkers, because that's what science and primarily Western Christianity lays out for us, right? There's good and bad, there's right and wrong, there's a way to be in the world. There's a set of suppositions about the way humans are. That is, we call it, it's in the soup, it's in the consciousness, right? You know, you work hard and then you die. Life is just kind of crazy like that, out of control. People say some things about, the other gender that's just kind of in the soup, and is it true? I don't know. Is it? It's in the consciousness. When we have a general worldview that says things like, people are pretty much greedy, people are pretty much selfish, we need morality to force them to conform. or something like that. That worldview is happening whether we have thought we want to tune into it or not. It's everywhere. And then we're over here with the metaphysical worldview that says people are inherently good, people are inherently kind, people are inherently giving, and here we stand in the middle. Coming to science of mind, doing our spiritual practice, our daily substantial spiritual practice, and then, going to work and talking to our neighbors and watching the news, and we're doing this dance all the time, right? And so here's this table in front of us, and we have our internal sock puppets. One of them is Reverend Lezli and Reverend Karen in my head going, it is fantastic and good for you to have everything that is for you. God wants this, yay. And then the world is going, should you? What does that say? Are you selfish? Are you bad for wanting that? It's no wonder we get confused and do this dance. So here's a thing that I have learned from physics, not even quantum physics, it's going to be easy physics. You cannot pick something up while you're holding something else. If my hands are full of this book, I cannot pick up this podium. I can't do it. So we're going to talk about 3 things we can think about the possibility of putting down in our worldview to make the space to pick up all of this good that we've spent the year manifesting together. Are we in? Fantastic. So the first one is the idea of being undeserving. Do I deserve the good thing that I've manifested? Is it okay for me to have this new job? Am I good enough? Do I know what I'm doing? Am I good enough at it yet? Should it have gone to somebody else? Did I mess up the plan of God by manifesting it? If you managed to mess up the plan of God, please come tell me, because I've never seen it happen and I'm going to want to know. Because as far as I've ever seen, the plan of the divine is that we manifest fully, and that's it. That's the whole story. So anything we do automatically is inherently the plan of the divine because it wants us to have good. And can we use up somebody else's good? No. And why can't we use up somebody else's good? It's unlimited. There's infinite and unlimited good. All the good. We eat the 16 pies, what happens? More pies. Infinite pies. So here's the world. Are you good enough? Do you deserve it? And here's the thing. Deservedness and undeservedness does not exist in the mind of a metaphysician. It's a difficult thing to hear the way the whole world talks about something and say, not a thing. That is not a thing. Worthiness is everyone's birthright. Take a breath. Luckily, we do not have to depend on the opinion of Reverend Lezli for this. We do like that. We have support for this. So we could go to the classics, if you will, and see what the Bible has to say about it. Now, I picked the Bible. I could have gone to the Torah. I could have gone to the Bhagavad Gita. I could have gone to infinite other sources. But in Genesis 1:27, when you're a lazy Bible reader, not that I would admit to being that out loud on the platform, but if you are, finding supporting evidence in Genesis 1, which is the first chapter of the first book, saves time. So in Genesis, God created humanity in his own image, in the likeness, or in the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them in the image, in the likeness. Now, is it literal, like we look like God? Maybe. I don't know. God hasn't shown up in the physical to me quite in that way. Again, I will report back when it happens. But what we do know is that the energetic likeness of the divine, meaning all of those qualities we claim for the divine, that is what we're made of. Every single one of us. Even when we can't see it, Even when we're, buried 4 feet deep in the hole and really listening to the voice of the world and we can't imagine it's true, the seeded full potentiality of that abundance, of that grace, of that good, of that loving kindness is in there. And as soon as we turn to it and pay attention to it, what happens? It blossoms forth. So to turn that into science of mind language, we would look at what Ernest has to say about this, where he says, each one of us is an individualized God. That is quite a claim to make. Good to know he acknowledges it. It's a big claim. We are individual infinities, made in the likeness and image of a creative energy that brought us forth. We are inherently made of that same good, so we are inherently worthy. It doesn't make sense for God's left arm to deny God's right arm good, does it? No. We are that. We are one in the oneness, so we can't be unworthy. We can't be unworthy. Rather than thinking about earnable or deservable or not earnable or am I worthy, the better question is, how much am I willing to accept? How big am I willing to let good be as me? It's just as big of a question, and it's far more interesting. So if you are willing, because what we will never do here is tell you what to think. We will suggest options of what you could consider, and then it's up to you to decide if you want to think that. So I invite you to consider, would you like to put down the question of worthiness, of deserving, and release it to open up your hands to claim some of the good that you've manifested. The second one that we can consider laying down is the idea it's better to give than to receive. Again, this is coming from the mass culture, right? Everybody's heard it, right? It is better to give than to receive. And on some levels, I'm on board, because how fun is it to give a really well-given gift, right? To know, oh my gosh, I found the exactly right thing and my friend's gonna be so excited, and to be ready to give it, right? Best feeling ever. And what makes it so wonderful? The way their eyes light up and the way you get that connection where they are like, oh, you know me. You know my heart. You knew this was the thing for me. And then your heart grows 3.5 times, 10 times, 1,000 times bigger than the Grinch. And then everything is wonderful. But you notice it doesn't get really amazing until the eyes light up of the receiver. Because you can't have that experience without someone being willing to receive and truly, fully receive the gift. It's better to give than to receive has 2 little sketchy suppositions in it. One of them is that humans are inherently greedy and won't give unless we con them into it. So we have to have a phrase to, convince us. Because Jolene, she's not giving anything unless we make her do it. It's fun to pick out which person it's the most ridiculous statement about. The second piece of that is the supposition that the process of circulation doesn't rely on both halves of the equation. So we've just spent a whole month talking about circulation, how the giving and the receiving cycle set each other up to create this flow in the universe that keeps money and good and opportunities and resources and friendship flowing through the universe so that everybody gets what they need. Because again, it doesn't help us if we have infinite good over there on a table and no one's picking it up. The law of circulation keeps it passing around the community and beyond so that everybody gets what they need and more. And this is a good thing. We like this. Ernest Holmes, he doesn't believe in greed. He doesn't believe in any of that. He believes in circulation. And he says, the gift cannot be complete without a receiver. Someone must receive the gift. Friends, it's about balance. It's about being the giver and being the receiver. It's about being the witnesser of the giving and receiving. It's about claiming the good for ourselves bigger and better and larger and more fully, because then what can we do with the overflowing good? We can give and share and expand, and the circle just keeps getting bigger and broader and rounder and fuller. It's about knowing that this community is so taken care of that we can do outreach and spread it to people we may never know in real life, because there is more than enough. But being willing to be both giver and receiver is key to this. And so, again, I invite you to consider, is it mine to lay down? It's better to give than receive. And to turn into a more metaphysical mindset of giving, receiving, and witnessing all have infinite value. And then finally, releasing the idea of I shouldn't want it. Wanting it makes me shallow. Whatever it is. I shouldn't want a relationship. That means I'm not a feminist. And I'm not independent. I shouldn't want that better job. That means I think I need to be the boss of everyone. I shouldn't want more money. That means I'm materialistic. We've all heard it, right? And it gets in there. It gets in there. This is based on the supposition from the material world that we can want something that isn't for us. And yet, metaphysics tells us that there is this still small voice. You've heard the phrase, still small voice? I remember being a little kid and really wanting like a dude in my head to be like, Lezli, I am the still small voice. Some people hear it as words, some people just feel it as a feeling sense of what is theirs to do. Some people see script. I think that would be fun. That is not how I experience it. But there is a sense of what is ours, and we experience it as intuition, as passion, as longing. What is that voice? Science of mind tells us that that voice is literally the indwelling source speaking through our intuition to guide us to that which is ours inherently. The material world is telling us if we want something, it means we're greedy and selfish. Metaphysics tells us if we want something, it is God saying, honey, get to it. This is for you. And so we are left with the question over and over in our daily substantial spiritual practice. Is this the voice of God in me, whispering into my heart what is mine? A really good hint, this is coming from Reverend Penny Masick, a really good hint that it is the voice of the one within us is that what it calls us to is life affirming, and that the next step to claim it is clear. That's an easy thing to check. Is it life affirming? Is it good for all parties? And is the next step to claim it clear? And when it is, when the invisible hands of the one are guiding us to that which is ours, the step to claim it is easy. See, this is what Ernest Holmes had to say about it. He said, if you could realize the tremendous power of attraction that holds everything in its place, it is yours. It is yours, this gift. It is the divine birthright of every living soul, but we limit ourselves by our own thought of limitation, by our own forgetting that we don't have to follow those made-up rules of the greater culture. We limit ourselves. But when we remember that Spirit is speaking through us and the creative process is working through us to fill that table up with everything we have claimed and deserve, the gift is ours. It is ours to have and to share and to create more of. And so this is the invitation for this week. As we move through this week in preparation for next week, which is the celebration of all the good, to allow ourselves to contemplate, is my thinking more in line with the worldview of the culture? Is my belief about the nature of humanity and myself more in line with the culture at large, or is it more in line with the metaphysical alignment with spirit? Just let yourself contemplate. And if something rises up to you that you are ready to lay down, honor that impulse. Honor that impulse. And if you're not ready to yet, honor that impulse too. When it is yours to do, it will rise up from the inside, and the next step will be clear. Have a beautiful week, and so it is. And let us take that into some anchoring prayer. How good it is to know that Sweet Spirit is right where we are, that the infinite divine energy of life is operating in and through and as all beings. And that as each one allows that truth to rise up in their own selves, hearts are changed and minds are open. That the capacity to step deeper into divine truth is always there for us. We can't miss the chance. We can't lose the opportunity. It continues to be present for each one of us as we open up to the possibility of abundance and healing, new relationships, more opportunities. That our hearts and our minds and our bodies are met right where we are by the infinitude of life itself. And so whatever was on our hearts when we entered this sanctuary, physical or digital, the Sweet Spirit is on that case already, that healing is happening even as we finish this prayer, that it is good and very, very good. And so it is.